Hi again, this is Vensy, your instructor from NALSAR, and I'm now going to take you through the different sections on the CLAT, beginning with legal aptitude. In this video, we'll learn more about legal aptitude on the CLAT as per the trends of the last 10 years. So let's get started. The legal aptitude section of the CLAT primarily consists of two components, namely legal GK and legal reasoning. It is seen that legal GK has occupied 10 to 15 questions in the recent editions of the CLAT, so it is definitely an important section. The other one is legal reasoning, where primarily your ability to apply abstract principles to fact scenarios to come up with the best judgment is tested. No previous knowledge, however, of the law is presumed. So the legal GK is just another variant of general knowledge, and if you ask me, I think they should be asked on the CLAT GK section instead. The legal section is supposed to be an aptitude test, not one of prior knowledge or of memory. Nevertheless, we've seen that we need to prepare for the legal GK section since time and again CLAT has not heeded the advice of experts against legal GK questions. However, the advantage of having legal GK questions in your CLAT paper is that it minimizes the time taken for the legal section as a whole. So for example, you come across a legal GK question, you look at the options, you either know the answer or you don't know the answer, and you choose to attempt or leave the question. This takes far less time than questions on legal reasoning, as we shall see next. However, the primary areas on which the CLAT tests legal GK on are Indian Constitution, sometimes on legal current affairs, and legal terms, maxims, etc. So ensure that you're well prepared in these areas at least. So just to have an idea about the number of questions from legal knowledge section under the legal aptitude section from the past 10 years of CLAT, you can look at this graph for an idea. We are considering only straightforward legal GK questions and not types such as assertion reasoning and so on. I can argue that assertion reasoning questions, they do require some amount of legal knowledge, but since they are, it's a question type on its own and it requires a different technique to arrive at the solution. So I look at it under legal reasoning instead. So from 2008, you can say that 2008 did not have legal general knowledge at all. However, in 2009 and 10, the entire legal knowledge section, legal aptitude section was made of legal knowledge. And in 2011, 13 and 14, there were no legal knowledge questions. However, if you see 2015, 16, 17, the last three editions of CLAT, you've had at least around 15 to 20 questions of legal knowledge. So definitely is an important section. So knowing all of this, how would you prepare for the legal knowledge component of the CLAT? A few suggestions from my side are, since it's an aspect of general knowledge, you can focus on the legal chapters from general knowledge books to have a good foundation. Do sign up for quizzes and also tests online on various websites. There are a lot of those. I could do a detailed review on which books and websites to follow in a later video. Also, since the CLAT is also tested on current legal affairs as part of legal general knowledge, do ensure to focus especially on legal related news in newspapers and magazines and news channels or websites or wherever else you get your news from. Make sure to make detailed notes to refer to later. And finally, when it comes to legal maxims, legal terms, legal phrases, you really need to memorize a bunch of these from say internet or books, etc. There are of course approaches where you can memorize the root words to make it easy to guess the meaning of the term or the phrase. And I'll cover this approach in a later video. But do make sure that you're familiar with the entire maxim or phrase as well, because that is also important. There are lists available in textbooks, etc. But you also get these lists online for free. So before we move on, I would like to point out that in this video, I will not be doing a topic-wise or year-wise analysis for the legal GK section on the CLAT. We'll look at those trends later, but now we'll focus on the legal reasoning section exclusively. So coming to the legal reasoning section, it's actually a very easy and straightforward section that can be really scoring for a student who's well prepared. Many students worry that this section is their weakness, but I can tell you that this is a section that you can ace with some smart preparation. Now, there are generally three reasons why students perceive the legal reasoning section as difficult. One, most of the legal reasoning questions require you to read a principle, understand it, read a long set of facts, understand how to apply it to the principle to the facts. The read the options, and then decide whether to choose an answer or to skip the question, because as you remember, there's negative marking. Thus, many students take a very long time to solve these questions. Secondly, many times the legal reasoning principles come from new concepts, which make students anxious, and they might mistake an otherwise easy and straightforward question for a difficult one. And finally, because of negative marking, many students choose to skip questions that they're not sure about, which leaves them with a lower score. However, remember that CLAT level legal reasoning questions are quite narrow and straightforward. They assume no prior knowledge of law or legal principles on your part. So don't worry about this section too much. It is not as difficult as you might think it is. So under the legal reasoning section, the principal facts type of questions are extremely common, but they're not the only type, because CLAT has also tested on legal reasoning through assertion reasoning questions and also syllogisms, courses of action, and match the following type of questions, although they're very rare. So from this graph, where the y-axis represents the number of questions and the x-axis represents the year, we can see that the assertion reasoning type of questions have sprung up in some editions. However, it is very clear that the principal facts-based questions are the most important of the lot, since sometimes they make up almost all of the 50 legal aptitude questions, for example, in 2013. Now for my favorite part of the analysis, we'll now look at the topics covered by the principal facts type questions on the CLAT, starting from 2008 to the 10th CLAT in 2017. This is important because I demonstrate to you that the legal reasoning section of the CLAT is limited and does not require you to prepare far more than some important concepts from some chapters only. And I will prove it to you along with the exact number of questions from each of these topics as well. So firstly, there are 4 prominent chapters from which a majority of the questions have come so far. And in no particular order, they are torts, criminal law, constitutional law, and contracts. Other less prominent topics from which a handful of questions have come over the years are family law, labor law, property law, intellectual property, evidence, and some general legal principles. So let us now look at the trends. Coming to torts, it has definitely risen in importance since 2011, and on average there seem to be about 8 to 10 questions from torts in each paper. Coming to criminal law also seems to be important, again with an average of about 8 to 10 questions. However, when it comes to contracts, we can see that contracts has had the highest number of questions so far, and especially in 2013, it had 17 questions in the paper. Then coming to constitutional law, where the highest number of questions in constitutional law, and by this I do not mean constitutional GK questions. It came in 2011 when it had 14 questions. However, ever since then it seems to have slowly lost its importance. And this is the graph for all the other topics tested in CLAT. You can see that the maximum number of questions from each of these topics has never really crossed 9. And even in 2014, where family law, etc. was tested for the first time, the total of questions from these topics was actually only 11. Thus, you can see how you can distribute your focus while you prepare for the CLAT this year. So knowing all of this, how can you begin your preparation for the legal reasoning section on the CLAT? Firstly, you require a lot of practice, because don't hope to crack the exam by looking at a few legal principles and going to the exam without enough practice, because that's not going to help you. Do start with the CLAT previous year's papers and then we'll take it forward. Secondly, since most of the questions on this section tend to be long, you definitely need to work on time management. Consequently, skills like speed reading, etc. are extremely important, and you need to develop them from day one. And on a later video, I'll explain to you how you can strategize your preparation for legal aptitude section on whole. Now, I understand that I'm putting away a lot of stuff for later, but all of those videos will come soon, guys. Trust me. Finally, a note on recommended books for the CLAT, for the legal aptitude section of the CLAT. Now, I have to confess that I have not seen a perfect book for legal reasoning so far in the last 5 years. There is really no systematic analysis of what is required for the CLAT, nor do authors seem to have an adequate rationality for including some topics and leaving out others. However, everyone does recommend AP Bharadwaj for the legal aptitude section, and I will do a very detailed review of this book very soon. So that's it for this video, guys. If you have liked this video, please like and subscribe. That way we'll be able to reach out to other law aspirants like you. Do visit our Facebook and Instagram pages for more updates, and don't forget to like and subscribe.